Hey, Chance, I heard you're doing YouTube videos now, and I was like, what? No way, sake. Pick your battles collecting. No one's gonna watch that, bud. You have better luck getting laid in a convent, sake.
What is up, good people? This morning I was watching a video from one of my favorite YouTubers, Iowa Retro Gamer Dad. If you're unfamiliar with him, I'm posting a link. Go check him out. He's absolutely fantastic. His channel is gaming centric, but it tackles topics within the hobby of gaming and game collecting that maybe a lot of people either don't think about much or just don't talk about much because it hits kind of close to home. But his most recent video was on the subject of video games aren't fun anymore. And some of the assertions he was making was that, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that sometimes as you age, life can get in the way and you kind of lose that zeal that you had as a kid for games and gaming. And I got to thinking about that. I recently made the comment to my wife that I probably own more video games and consoles than any other man alive that doesn't actually play video games all that much. And for me, I grew up gaming. I started on the Atari 2600 in the arcade, so that's going to date me a little bit here and show my age. And I've been with it ever since. I made the progression from NES to Genesis on up through today. And for me, despite the fact that I own so much gaming hardware and so many games, the main reason that I don't game, I think, it's not that it's not fun per se. Now, I do think a lot of modern gaming leaves a lot to be desired. I am 100% a solo gamer. I don't like playing with other people, and I absolutely detest playing online. It's not for me. Unlike my oldest son, who's 22, and he can't imagine gaming without being online. That's, he does the PUBG type scene. But there's just not a lot of games being made that really are tailored to my tastes. I think the last game that I really got into, played all the way through and beat, was Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West. Absolutely loved the Horizon series. That game, it's an action game with RPG elements, which speaks to my soul. I love that type of setup. I like to feel like that I'm accomplishing something with the game, that I'm making progress. And I really, really got into it in a way that I haven't been able to many games. And I think the reason I don't try to branch out and get into other types of games is, frankly, I don't want to say that gaming, I've come to see it as a waste of time, but I just don't see it as the best use of my time. I have 2 small children at home, a wonderful wife, and I've got a lot going on in life, so I spend all day at work. So when I come home in the evening, I like to be able to spend time with my family. And I was married once before, and my ex and we fought a lot about everything, but one big thing that used to drive her crazy about me was that I was just an obsessive gamer. Always playing, always had a controller in my hand, right? And that's not a mistake I want to make with my wife now. I want my family to know that they are first. So I limit my gaming to times when my wife and kids, are over at my in-laws and visiting and swimming in the pool, and, I have a little bit of downtime. And even then, if I have the house all to myself, I feel guilty for gaming when I could be cleaning the house, doing laundry, something productive. I think when you get older, and I'm pushing 50 years old, you start to value time in a way that you didn't when you were younger necessarily. And I think my last lengthy gaming session, if you could call it that. I was playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on Switch, and I think I spent about 3 hours on that. And I just felt so guilty because my wife and kids were in the house. And I don't know. I just look at gaming differently now. Yeah, there's a lot of them that aren't necessarily my bag. Honestly, as far as gaming goes, I have way more fun collecting games and making videos about games and reading about games and watching other videos about games than I do actually playing the games. It's totally up, and I get that. When I buy games now, though, knowing fully well that I don't play a lot of games, I buy it. I have to talk myself into them, and the argument I make is that I'm going to play these one day. One day I am going to have that spare time that I don't have to dedicate to work or to my children or to household responsibilities, and then I'm going to have them on hand, and I'm just going to go wild with them, right? And I suspect what's going to end up happening when I do find myself in that situation. I'm probably going to have other things going with my time. One thing that Iowa Retro Gamer Dad said that really struck a chord with me, he said, sometimes as you get older, you kind of replace gaming with more creative pursuits. And I'm not saying everybody does, but I have. For me, it's photo and video editing. I've just become really engrossed with those things. So those really occupy a lot of my time, my free time / me time. I like to do that because at the end of the day, when I'm done with a project there, I have something I can look at and say, yes, I did that. Yes, I made that. That is a thing that I produced. Whereas when I get done with a gaming session, I'm just kind of like, well, that's over. And that pile of laundry's still there. A lot of my gaming now, as I said, I mentioned I'd played a game on the Switch. I was playing that Marvel Ultimate Alliance. It has to be that kind of game. It has to be that kind of game that you can pick up, play for a few minutes, and put down. And that's why, even though I have an Xbox Series X and I have 2 PlayStation 4s, I got a 4 and a 4 Pro, don't have a 5 yet. And the only reason I haven't bought a 5 is flat out because I don't play the games I have. And my Xbox Series X it's just a glorified YouTube machine that's used by my children. But I really stick to handhelds. I have a handheld emulation device, one that's made by a company called Anbernic. It's the RG351P. I highly advise you check it out. It's like, I think you can get it for like $75 to $90 now. And it can play like damn near everything up to PlayStation 1. And because it has save states, I can go back and experience the games that I loved as a younger person in a different way. As a Iowa Dad, I'm just going to call him Iowa Dad because I don't want to keep saying Iowa Retro Gamer Dad. I'm just going to say Iowa Dad. He mentioned that he loves RPGs, and the problem with those is they're not pick up and play friendly. You just can't pick them up and put them down because a lot of times you're going to have a lengthy amount of time in between your spots where you can save and keep your progress without having to go back to an earlier start point. And that's what I love emulation. A lot of people shit all over emulation, but you cannot beat it for convenience, and say nothing of making retro gaming more accessible. But yeah, I do love those handhelds, and I find myself being drawn to new release games at a much slower pace than I used to. I mean, there used to be all kinds of games that would come out every year, like, oh my god, I want to play that, I want to play that, oh, that looks badass, I want to play that. Now, if there's maybe one game a year that comes out that I'm like, yeah, I could get in on that. For me right now, the one I'm looking forward to coming up is Starfield. It looks amazing. I've taken to calling it No Man's Skyrim because it seems like it's really heavy on the crafting and building elements of the game. And I've just been so hard up for a new Elder Scrolls game that I'm ready for a game in that vein even though it's not Elder Scrolls, but it's still made by Bethesda. It's still that whole open universe, explore at your own pace sort of game. And I'm really stoked about that. And that's pretty much it. That's the only game on my radar. And, you know, I don't know. Games just, I think it's the over accessibility that we have in this day and age to information. Like, I can read about games, I can watch 1,000 videos on any game at any given point, so I'm not able to psych myself up as easily as I was when I was a kid and a teenager. Is another thing Iowa Dad said in another one of his videos. You know, when in our time, you know, it was like magazines, or you rented the game and that's how you knew if it was going to be any good, or maybe a friend told you about it. Now we have such an overabundance of information that we can just pretty much rule things out willy-nilly, like really with the quickness, and it makes, I don't know, it makes us jaded somewhat as an adult. At least it has me. So it takes a lot more to impress me from a game, and I think that's why when I pick up my handhelds now, if I'm not playing something like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I'm typically playing a lot of the games I played as a kid. I play the piss out of Tecmo Super Bowl. I'm still all about that. Or I'll play Contra, or I'll play Roston, the arcade game, which is freaking phenomenal if you've never played it. Or Black Tiger, that's a hidden gem arcade game, by the way, and it's easily had on emulation on MAME. All in all, I don't think that video games in and of themselves are less fun than they were when we were kids. I think our ability to enjoy them certainly changes, because as an adult, not only do you have the responsibilities, but you have the awareness that time is a valuable and finite resource, and you have to become much more judicious with how you allocate it. There's certainly an argument to be made that video games are productive in the respect that they're a healthy way, as long as you don't go overboard with it, of escaping the stresses of modern life. I mean, inflation's going up, cost of living's going up. It's a tough world out there. And sometimes that's something that just allows you to escape and kind of recharge your batteries. Well, I don't know, it's productive in a weird way. Still, I have a family that depends on me. I have kids that want daddy's attention, and they want me to spend time with them, and I love that. So yeah, I mean, I think games are definitely being made differently nowadays, and I think fewer of them are being made for gamers like me. But as a whole, I think games are as enjoyable, if not more so, than they've ever been. It's why they continue to draw a bigger and bigger audience as they go along. And that's pretty much my thoughts on it. If you've stuck with me this long, thank you for subjecting yourself to my point belaboring meandering. And again, I highly suggest you check out Iowa Retro Gamer Dad. His channel is fantastic. He's smart. He's really engaging. His quality of content is just absolutely top notch. And he sees things in a way that a lot of YouTube creators don't. Anyway, if you stuck with me this long, again, appreciate it. If you liked it, please hit like, and I beg you, please hit subscribe. Man, I haven't even popped 40 subscribers yet, man. If I could just get to 50 subs by the end of this year, I'd be over the moon. Anyway, thanks for hanging, and take it easy.